Yes, so we have 30 participants at the moment.
Great, yeah, we can let people in. Okay. Great. So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this side event organised by the Conscious Food Systems Alliance, entitled Food for Climate, Activating Transformation from the Inside Out. So we're delighted to have you join us here today, both in person and online. My name's Alana Cragen. I'm Climate Policy Coordinator with UNDP's Climate Promise, and I'm delighted to be your moderator today. So to begin with, just some housekeeping. So if you're joining us online on Zoom, please do ensure that your mics are muted, and there is the option of simultaneous translation in Spanish and English. So you can just click on the little world icon on Zoom, and you can choose your language. So we have a full and exciting agenda today. We'll be hearing from leading academics, from Indigenous leaders, from mindfulness practitioners, development experts, and of course the Conscious Food Systems Alliance members. So we'll be talking about the role of inner change as a critical and complementary approach to building regenerative, inclusive, and resilient food systems, and how that can support climate action. So for the first part of this session, I'm pleased to introduce our distinguished panelists. So first off, we have Andrew Bovernick, who is our global head of UNDP's Food and Agricultural Commodities Systems Practice, and he's joining us virtually from Panama. So building on more than 25 years of experience working on transforming food systems through collaborative action, Andrew saw the need and profound potential of leveraging inner change for systems transformation, and this specifically for the development sector. So Andrew envisioned the Conscious Food Systems Alliance in 2020 and is the founder and team lead. We also have Thomas Legrand, lead technical advisor of the Conscious Food Systems Alliance, and who's joining from France, where he lives next to Plum Village, the monastery of Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. Thomas is also the author of Politics of Being, Wisdom and Science for New Development Paradigm. We're also joined by Vairoa Ika Goldman, an Indigenous activist and representative of the Rapa Nui peoples Isla da Pascua of Polynesia. Welcome. And last but not least, Christine Wamsler, who is Professor of Sustainability Science at Lund University, and who is also founder and director of the Contemplative Sustainable Futures Programme. So Christine's work in linking sustainability and inner change is contributing to frame this nascent field of work, and she's been extensively cited in IPCC reports. She's also been a core partner of the Conscious Food Systems Alliance since 2021, and has co-authored the Conscious Food System Alliance Rationale for Action report. So to kick us off, I'll pass to you, Andrew, and ask, why is interchange so important for transforming food systems, for tackling climate change and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals? Over to you, Andrew.
We want bringing more humanity back into our work. For me personally, it's maybe becoming less of an email machine and connecting more to the people I work with, both my colleagues, but as well as the farmers, the government counterparts, the companies, and look at everyone and connect with everyone as a human being as we work together, bringing compassion to our work, mindfulness, and really at the end of the day, when we think about climate, if we don't actually care about the next generation, we're not really going to make the tough choices now. So bringing caring into the solution or the equation at least is extremely powerful. And as we talk a lot in COP27 about, we are trying to help connect more to ourselves, connect to others, and connect to nature. And I think these ideas, this approach is really extremely powerful. It's what we all need now, what the world needs now. It is different from so many of the other initiatives out there and sessions you'll be listening to and participating in at COP. And I believe, what we're trying to support here and promote and elevate is very aspirational. We are really putting our attention on changing mindsets, but also not just looking at and working with people's minds, but opening up their hearts as well. And this is very aspirational, but that's what I believe I need for myself to be more open-hearted, and for us collectively to be more open-hearted, for us to make the right choices about food and about climate. So thank you all for coming. We are a movement. This is an alliance. We are stronger together. So please, for those of you who are new to COP27, I hope you enjoy this, enjoy the experience, and then contact us afterwards and come join us as we continue this journey for many, many years to come, because I think what we're trying to do here will remain relevant always. We have a wonderful event with amazing speakers, a very beautiful mix of different speakers, topics, and experiences, including some mindful practice by my good friend Tuptin. And I just say that it's been, I'm sure, a very stressful, hectic week at COP. So sit back and enjoy and join the experience with us, and hopefully join us and work with us as we move forward in the future. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And yes, couldn't agree more. We really need this more compassionate and conscious approach to food systems, and ensuring that it really is inclusive, and those that are on the ground, we're listening to them, we're making sure their voices are heard, and they're with us on the way. So I'm now honoured to pass the floor to Vaiora, who will share with us a blessing from Rapunai. She'll be doing a song and dance, and then giving a speech or sharing a short video, and sharing some experiences on building local and resilient food systems from the Rapa Nui Cosmovision. Over to you. Thank you so much. Wow.
Esta es una canción que habla un poco de la historia de Rapa Nui.
Yes, so we are going to translate a bit the song. She was saying that this is a song that talks about her people in Rapa Nui.
En el momento que estoy bailando y hago así, es justamente cuando nuestro rey Atamu Tekena toma el pasto y el pasto se lo entrega al chileno, al colonizador. Somos hermanos y todo, pero al colonizador le dice, el pasto es tuyo, pero la tierra es de nosotros.
Basically, the movement she was doing, it symbolized when the king of the land was giving the resources in a way to the neighboring countries in Latin America, to Chile, and which other country? To Chile, saying you can have this, but the land belongs to us, to the people.
Y en resumen es la historia de la isla, un momento duro donde casi se extingue Rapa Nui, éramos 111, pero que a pesar de todo fuimos resilientes y pudimos crecer y actualmente estamos vivos, la cultura está viva.
So basically, yeah, the total population decreasing due to colonization and occupation, but they're a very resilient people and they're still there and the culture is still alive.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for that deeply moving and insightful offering. Thank you. Do we have a video? Yeah? Could we play the video? Oh, sorry, Naomi. Yes.
Después de 2 años de pandemia, llegamos a hacer 1.114 huertos y logramos sancionar 25 familias, en las cuales armamos una red de productores agroecológicos, donde el propósito de esta red es impulsar la soberanía alimentaria de la región y poder asegurar el consumo de alimentos nutritivos, ya que los cuidamos del suelo, entregamos abono natural y insecticidas también, además de la asesoría técnica. Como red, hemos llegado a un acuerdo de que las primeras 3 cosechas se regalaron a la comunidad.
Luego de la 4ª cosecha de esta organización, ellos van a empezar a vender esta canasta, una canasta bien variada, con todos los alimentos que crecen en las huertas y para poder trabajar el comercio justo, la alimentación local, la alimentación saludable, entonces la idea es poder ofrecerlo a la comunidad. Estas acciones van en línea con la ODS número 2, Hambre Cero, y la ODS número 12, Producción y Consumo Responsable de la Agenda 2030 de las Naciones Unidas.
Uno de los objetivos a desarrollar entonces en una década es lograr que el planeta sea sustentable, alimentario y conservable. En Rapa Nui lo que está haciendo aquí está a través de este concepto iniciando ese proceso. Lo estamos haciendo con la familia, lo estamos haciendo con los vecinos, y esto se va a ir escalando, se va a ir multiplicando por sí sola. El tiempo no es importante, lo importante es enfocarnos en hacer bien para que del fruto de ello podamos nosotros entonces sustentarlo, podemos garantizar nuestros alimentos aquí mismo en nuestra casa.
Thank you again. That's such important work, and yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. So, from the science of inner and outer transformation, our next speaker is Christine Wamsler, who'll be joining virtually from Sweden. So, Christine, from your scientific perspective, can you tell us why our consciousness and inner human capacities are key for unlocking systems change and building more regenerative and resilient food systems?
Thank you, Alana, for your question. In simple terms, one can say that there is increasing scientific consensus that creating sustainable regenerative systems doesn't only require change in our external world, technology, wider socioeconomic structures, and ecosystems. Instead, it has to go hand in hand with a fundamental shift in our relationships, in the way we think about ourselves, each other, and life as a whole. So, whereas current efforts to transform food systems tend to focus on external solutions and how to increase the externally driven motivation of stakeholders, for instance, by offering them economic incentives, sustainable regenerative systems also require nurturing certain inner capacities of stakeholders and their intrinsic motivation. So we urgently need new, more integrated approaches that link the inner and outer dimensions of sustainability. And recognizing the increasing scientific consensus in this field, this need has even been highlighted in this year's assessment report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, which note that while they know the important role of inner transformation in general, of our beliefs and values as a lever for accelerating sustainable development. So to address this need, in recent years, new scientific concept theories and frameworks have been developed, and they demonstrate the importance of linking inner and outer transformation sustainability, and they also show how related processes can be supported. Thanks to these scientific developments, we know that systemic change and inner change processes are deeply interconnected, and that tapping into people's inner capacities might have great potential for transforming systems. And we scientists call these capacities a deep leverage point for change. And by inner capacities, we mean our individual and collective awareness, mindsets, beliefs, values, worldviews, plus the associated inner qualities and skills that influence the way we see and relate to ourselves, others, and nature. This relationship is crucial because we have realized that climate change and other sustainability challenges are a reflection of an inner human crisis. Climate change is in fact the result of modern society's story or narrative of separation, which assumes that our thinking mind is separate from our feelings and bodily sensations, that each of us is separate from everyone else, that some humans are superior to others, and that we humans are separate and superior to the rest of the natural world. So treating the environment as a resource for the benefit of humankind and as a means for our economy has led to its abuse and destruction. But if we understand climate change as a reflection of an inner human crisis, this also means that conscious connection or reconnection with the self, others, and nature can serve as a foundation for creating more regenerative systems. And importantly, such a relational paradigm also lies at the root of many wisdom-based traditions. On this basis, so-called consciousness approaches can be understood as approaches that integrate the consideration and cultivation of inner capacities into external interventions. These approaches also leverage certain practices such as contemplative, psychological, and cognitive behavioral practices that can actively cultivate inner capacities. So from the emerging science and theory, we also know that consciousness approaches can and should be integrated into interventions across three interconnected levels: the individual, the collective, and the system. At individual level, it involves implementing measures like education, training, and coaching that can help a person to tap into their inner potential to support change. Measures at the collective or group level aim to support related training environments, to create a culture of growth and nourish fields of change, for instance, by means of transformative multi-stakeholder spaces and networks. Finally, measures at the system level aim to support policy integration in order to systematically mainstream the consideration of people's intrinsic capacities and values into existing institutional and political systems. And this might entail modifying organizations' policies and regulations, their tools for project management, monitoring and evaluation, and reallocating resources. So to sum up, the emergent science, theories, and concepts of inner order transformation allow us to understand that consciousness approaches can help bring about a shift in individual and collective awareness. It is a fundamental shift in our relationships that can emerge by nourishing people's inner capacities and their connection or reconnection with the self, others, and nature, all of which are crucial for creating more regenerative food systems. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine. And it's really great to hear, the strong scientific basis for this work. And I think it's quite important for us to note that this has already been recognised in the IPCC report, so very relevant for the audience here at COP. So now we will hear from Thomas. So Thomas is our lead technical advisor, and as you may have noticed, I've been saying Conscious Food Systems Alliance, but what is it exactly? So Thomas, I'll let you introduce what this alliance is and how those listening today and here at Sharm el Sheikh can get engaged and be part of this movement. Thanks. Over to you.
Thank you, Alana. Thank you, everyone. Glad to be with you today and to share this work that we are building over the last 2 years with our great group of partners. We can have a presentation that maybe we can show slides. So we are the Conscious Food Systems Alliance. We are a movement of food and agriculture practitioners, but also consciousness practitioners, united around a common goal to support people from across food and agriculture systems to cultivate the inner capacities that activate systemic change and regeneration. So, we can move to the next slide, Christine. As we have worked with Christine on this Rationale for Action report, which presents the key concepts for our work. And she has already explained this model of transformation, basically applying consciousness approaches. And she mentioned, the contemplative practices such as mindfulness and nature connection, psychological and cognitive behavioral practices, how we convene, also how we create deep, safe space, and where deep communication can really happen through nonviolent communication, deep listening, etc. How will you apply these at 3 levels, individual, group, and institutional, to create shift in consciousness through the cultivation of inner capacities, the transformative qualities and skills around being, thinking, relating, collaborating, and acting, and also the change in connection with self, others, and natures to support the transition towards regenerative food systems. So we want to apply that, take a whole system approach and apply that to the whole food and agriculture systems. At the landscape level, for example, working with farmers' well-being, mental health. We know this is a big issue globally. We also aware that a lot of regenerative movement at the grassroots levels builds on different values and mindsets. So how can we foster these? How can we support also and strengthen traditional wisdom in relation to food and agriculture? How can we work differently on approach in a different way, more intentionally, policy processes, maybe starting with a kind of retreat to allow people to start from a different place within, or through immersion in local communities or with nature, to make these processes much more intentional, and how we can have also dialogues, how we can build safe, deep, connecting, transformative spaces for multi-stakeholder dialogues. And finally, how can we transform supply chains through transform the culture, for example, of companies to support more this sustainability regenerative agenda, and how we can, working on consumption, how we can promote traditional food cultures. We know that it's a big problem that often traditional food are devalued, especially in the global south, and marketing emphasize Western, modern, imported food. So how can we, on the contrary, promote traditional local food cultures, and also offer education programs that support based on behavioral insights, mindfulness practices, for example, to support more healthy, local and sustainable diets. So we want to work on all these issues and build a global community of conscious food systems practitioners. Can move to the next slide. Thank you. So that's our model. We are about to launch a digital platform for all of our members to be able to connect and practice together. We'll launch a series of collective inquiries to look into these different subjects so that we can reflect together, we can learn from each other's experience, and we can build collaboration, because obviously, ultimately, the idea is to foster application of this agenda of work. Every members, some are already doing that. In UNDP, we have already started to integrate these kind of approaches into some projects. And we have designed an incubator of projects, and we are raising funds for this to be able to channel funding, to test, to experiment around these type of interventions. So this is a movement convened by UNDP, which holds the secretariat, and we will be launching an inner council, which will be a kind of steering committee, and we will have also a quarterly gathering of Alliance members, in addition to all the programs that we'll be offering online on this digital platform. So we have been working on this initiative for the last 2 years. The first year, from September 2020, was about the setting up, define an initial concept, build a core group of partners, and engage in some visioning and strategic discussions about the Alliance. A year ago, in September 2021, or October, we launched the Breathing Room, which was a space for core partners to connect with themselves and co-create together this Conscious Food System Alliances program. And we have developed together some foundational documents, such as this Rational for Action report that we have mentioned. We have also a manifesto developed, and we have discussed, how can we define the governance and how can we support more growing our community. And right now we are moving into this third phase of implementation with the launching of this digital platform, starting also to offer trainings and implement interventions. We are planning a global event in April, and working actively on fundraising, and we'll be also developing a scale-up strategy for the next phase. So as we mentioned, we have here the achievements so far. We have built a very solid and great group of core partners. We have positioned this agenda through some different documents to bring some thought leadership around this agenda. We have developed a pipeline of interventions for funding through the COP27 incubator. We have grown the community around COP27 with we have been in touch with more than 150 people. We have developed and are about to launch this digital community platform. And we have built a global network of local hubs to offer educational programs, retreats, mixing both this inner dimension with a focus on food and agriculture, and they are discussing, how to bring their experience into a global distributed curriculum. We have also worked a lot on the communication, branding of the Alliance, and have set up a website. So this is in a few words, what we are about. There is much more information on our website, consciousfoodsystems.org, and we are welcoming you to join our movement. You can find on the website how to submit a very simple application form to join this alliance. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Thomas. It's really great to see how this alliance came about and where we're going and how people can get involved. So thank you so much for that overview. So we recognize, that consciousness or mindfulness is something that we really need to experience and to practice to see the transformational role that it can play in our daily lives and, of course, the bigger community and food systems. So to get a flavour of that, we're joined today by Gaelong Tubton, who is a Buddhist monk, a meditation teacher and best-selling author from the UK. And Tubton is engaged in bringing mindfulness... So Tubton's engaged in bringing mindfulness to a variety of sectors for social transformation. So Tubton will be leading us today in a short mindfulness practice together. So Tubton, over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alana, and thank you, Thomas and Andrew, for inviting me again to be part of this wonderful initiative. I'm going to be leading all of you in a short mindfulness practice, but before doing that, I wanted to highlight a few key points. We've been talking about the importance of our inner capacity and how connecting and developing our inner capacity can achieve external change. We've been talking about consciousness, we've been talking about awareness. So these terms all definitely give a sense of waking something up. And I think many people, when they're new to mindfulness, tend to think of it as a sort of shutting down, almost like going to sleep. People often sit down and think they're supposed to clear their mind and go into a kind of underwater state where there are no thoughts, that they're just blank. And that is actually not mindfulness at all. That is just like trying to put oneself into an unconscious state. To wake up our consciousness is very much about being present and learning how to be less influenced by the habits that block or impede or obscure our inner potential from shining. Our inner potential, our inner capacity for awareness, for compassion, for wisdom, all the qualities of our internal mind that tend to be squashed by our stress, our worry and our fear. So meditating is about connecting with that inner space of rich potential and then allowing that to become the place from which we act in the world. It is also about being less controlled and influenced by the habits that help us to fall into states of greed, materialism, overuse of resources so that the planet suffers. All of these are habits that are like mud on the crystal. And the meditation practice is about washing away the mud. So, for the practice we're going to do today, we're going to sit quietly and focus on our breathing. But I want to emphasize that when thoughts and distractions come up to take us away from the breathing, that is not a sign of failure at all. That does not mean we have lost our meditation. Actually, it's a very dynamic process of regaining our awareness when we realize our mind has wandered, and then bringing the attention back to the breath. And this process of regaining and returning is exactly what meditation is all about. Because every time we regain our awareness and realize the mind has wandered, and every time we return to the breath, we are gaining more power over our own mind. We are building our authority over our thoughts and emotions, which means that in the long term we can have greater authority over the habits that tend to take us into unhappiness and greed. So those habits will have less authority over us. So for the practice, it's very good to sit up straight in your chair, to have a sense of physical balance in terms of how you sit, to have your feet planted flat on the ground. Place your hands with the palms down on the tops of your knees or the tops of your thighs. Try to have as straight a back as possible. If you have any discomfort or physical challenge that you need to work with, use a cushion, use a pillow. Of course, make yourself comfortable and don't stress your body, but it's good to try to be as upright as possible. Relax the shoulders. The shoulders are often where people hold tension. Our shoulders tend to be very hunched up. Relax the shoulders. Relax the body. Be present with your physical posture. Now the first key component in our practice is to establish the intention of profound, limitless, unconditional compassion. So this means to spend a moment creating the motivation or intention that we are going to meditate not just for our own well-being and benefit, but also for the benefit of others. Through our meditation, our compassion will grow, our consciousness will expand, our actions will come from the right place, and we can help the world. So we're trying to establish that intention right at the start of the session so that the session comes from that place. So take a moment to think, I'm going to meditate for my own benefit and the benefit of all other sentient beings and the planet as a whole. Now take your focus to your body. Start by being aware of your hands and fingers. Your hands are resting on your legs. There is a sense of contact between your skin and your clothing. Feel the texture of the clothing that you're wearing on your legs. Feel it under your palms and fingers. Mindfulness is very much about a direct perception of the present moment without it being filtered through too many thoughts, ideas and concepts. It's a direct experience of reality in the here and now. So just sense your hands resting on your legs. Feel the sensation of contact. Now take your focus to your body. Feel the chair under you. You can feel the contact between your backside and the chair and also your lower back and the back of the chair. Bring your focus up to your shoulders. Notice how your shoulders probably hold some tension. Just noticing helps the shoulders to release and relax. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel your shoulders literally wash away the tension like water flowing off a cliff. And now bring your focus to your breathing. Breathe very naturally. There's no need to breathe deeply or slowly or loudly. Just let your breath be as natural as it can be. But start to notice how your breath creates movement in your body. There is the rising and falling of the diaphragm. Perhaps you feel that in your chest, perhaps you feel it lower down in your belly. Just feel the movement of the body with the breath. When your mind wanders into distractions, thoughts, ideas, memories, noises from outside, just gently reconnect, bring yourself back again and again to the body. breathe naturally, without any pressure or effort. Just let the breath do its natural thing. Here, let's sharpen the focus. Bring the focus up to your face. Feel where the air comes in and out. Is it your nose? Is it your mouth? Locate where you are breathing. Breathe through your nose if you can. If it's uncomfortable, then of course breathe through your mouth. But feel the air coming in and out at the end of your nostrils. Feel the air brushing against the skin of your nose. Or if you breathe through your mouth, feel the air against your lips. Really focus on the sensation of entering and leaving the air. This is a way to sharpen up one's concentration, one's focus on the present moment. And when the thoughts take you away, which they will, don't get frustrated, just gently return. Return to the breath again and again. Let's try that for a few minutes. Notice how the mind gets lost very easily in sleepiness or distraction. This is all part of the process. Just return again and again. Don't feel that you're getting it wrong. Just keep returning to the breath. Let's try another few minutes. Now, as the mind becomes more focused, more centered in the present moment, just let go of the focus of the breath and take a moment to deeply relax into yourself. To ask yourself the question, who am I without all of my stress, without all the busyness, without all the thinking, planning, worrying, the discursive thought? Who is this essence of me, and what is my place in this world? What am I here to do? Try to connect with an inner being, with its sense of purpose, compassion, and a wish to connect with others, a wish for the world to be a happier, more positive place. Connect with that calm space of purpose and love deep within your heart. Make an internal commitment that you want to carry that compassion and kindness into everything you do, and that you want to train yourself further to go deeper and deeper into that compassionate state, and for that state to become the way you act in the world, the way you behave, where we try to benefit others. And stop there. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tupton. Thank you for guiding us through that practice and helping us generate, those or connect to those inner capacities so we can be of benefit not only to ourselves but to our families, our friends, our wider communities, and for the benefit of all. So thank you so much for that. So now we're going to hear from some of the incredible members of the Alliance about their work and their insights from the field, and how they're planning to bring this forth through the Conscious Food Systems Alliance. So you've been very patient, both here with us in person and online, so thank you so much. And first I'd like to introduce Maximilian Abulish. So Maximilian is Sustainable Development Lead for SEKIM, a holistic initiative for sustainable development, which has been incredibly successful in greening the Egyptian desert through biodynamic agriculture since 1977. So welcome, Maximilian. We also have Teresa Corsao, who is joining us virtually from Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Teresa is a food activist, designer, and eco-chef. She's the founder of Instituto Maniva, an NGO that's working to reconnect consumers or eaters, as we are, with their food. We also have Jeroen Jans, who's founder and co-director of the Inner Green Deal, which is an initiative to cultivate compassionate and sustainable leadership, and working in particular with leaders at the European Commission, the European Parliament, and international corporations and NGOs. Last but not least, we're also joined by Katie Palmer, who's the founder of Food Sense Wales, which is a charity hosted within the Welsh National Health Service, and is working with communities, organisations, policymakers and governments to co-create a food system for Wales that is not only good for people, but also for the planet. Katie's also one of the founding directors of Veg Power, which is a non-profit organisation on a 10-year mission to turn around vegetable consumption in the UK. So welcome to you all. So Maximilian, I'll start with you. So would you be able to share a bit more information about the central role of consciousness and inner development in SEKIM's approach, and your future plans with the Conscious Food Systems Alliance?
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to start after such a nice intervention from Geelong. Thank you. I think it's a special island that was created for a short moment in this bigger COP arena here, which is for sure a state of headspace, busyness, and now I like this very much that we invite a hard space to speak from, and also thank you for your artistic intervention in the beginning. I mean, the journey of SEKIM started truly from this inner space of a heartfelt need to come back home from my grandfather-in-law, Ibrahim Abulish, who started this initiative in 1977, seeing societal challenges and feeling the inner need to do something about it, because it would have been easy for him to stay wherever he was and have a beautiful life, a luxury life somewhere in Europe, but he decided to come back to his home country and to do something in the middle of the desert where nothing was existing, only his vision, a vision that is probably, considered today and also back in the days as crazy, because how can you start something when you see nothing in front of you and have maybe 200 years to achieve it? So I think we can only go for this if we have this strong inner clarity and vision, and I think that's a pretty important thing for us to realize and to invite the space. And of course he was also realistic and knew that entrepreneurship has to come in. So his approach was starting with nature and creating value out of this with an entrepreneurial drive, And when he got his first loan from a bank, what has he done? He has invested into a tractor, and he has invested into a piano, a grand piano, okay, in the middle of the desert. Why? Because culture is as important as the rest. And it also is included in the name agriculture. It's not an agro-technical economic endeavor, but it's a human intervention together with nature developing the earth. And we knew since the start that when you are in the desert, you cannot do it if you do not develop people. Because obviously when you work with nature and you confront challenges, from having no fertility in the soil to where do I get the water, how do I create a product out of that, it's so much challenges that you cannot deal with when you are just having someone being paid with a salary and have no intrinsic motivation to solve it. So you have to have a community that is really linked to the challenges at hand. And when you invite the community, you get families, you get kids, and then there's a need for education. And this need for education goes actually lifelong. For me, culture, and for us also, means unfolding potential and working on consciousness development, because that's an evolutionary journey we have to go through as humankind. And at SECAM, I would say this is at the heart. So when we are working in all the cultural, agricultural life and the economic life, it presents a huge opportunity to learn from the challenges, and to invite also the time that we are together for education. And this is called core program in our case. And it has to do a lot with arts. And Soraya said, and Ahmed El Shazli, they are working with me and the different institutions, the Egyptian Biodynamic Association for Farmers and the Heliopolis University and SECAM. We are all having a core program. That means 10% of our time is spent with artistic interventions, potential unfolding, and social, let's say, institutions like festivals or morning circles, and so on. In the end, it is trying to evoke a sense of an inner question, because this inner question needs to be there. Otherwise, human development cannot be prescribed. You can just create a conducive environment where this inner question can learn. And maybe I say 2 or 3 things how we can work together before I give it to the next speaker. Because we have 2,000 employees, 600 pupils and 3,000 students working with us, all driven by this local initiative, there's so much education going on, and I think we have to work on reinventing that education. Reinventing it by inducing more heart space and more practical hand space, not only in the mind. Because when I look at the curricula in the university or in the schools, it's full of mind, information, and so on. So we need to really invite that and break that open and try to go out into life and have the courage to go on the field as a class or as a kind of employees who are working normally in the factory, go to the field and experience where this food, where this product, like textile also, is coming from. And this is for us the core program, and this is for us this kind of important step on a journey towards social innovation, when you need to understand or when you need to expand your consciousness of seeing the world in a different way. Because as many people we have, as many different views there are existing on how we see the world. From a farmer to a factory worker, to a teacher, to a professor, to a business manager, to a salesperson. There's so many different reasons of why we do this. And I think we just have to acknowledge that we are all on a journey, and that this is the beauty and the art and the social dance of allowing these different perspectives to coexist, but creating a space of where to look at these perspectives, exchange, and create a sense of irritation. Because you can imagine if you invite a manager to suddenly draw and spend 1 hour of his time to make a painting or to work on something like clay handwork, the question is why? this is not efficient. But in the end, we see in the business that we do that we are really efficient. We are really economically very successful. Why? Well, perhaps it's because we are doing a lot of effort to maintain a cultural development. And this is also for the farmers and the technical engineers who work with the farmers. And I'm happy to exchange more and become really more involved in this Food Alliance, conscious Food Systems Alliance, in order so we can, bring it down and make more things happen in Egypt. Thank you so much for giving me the space and being here.
Thank you so much, Maximilian. And yeah, just to emphasize one point you made around, the disconnect that we're seeing now from, where our food comes from, how it was made, who made it, and I think that by connecting and preserving these cultures and knowledge and traditions that helps us very much becoming more connected. Yeah.
Just one comment on that. So we took all this information along the value chain. And if you go on economyoflove.net, you will find that there's something called Impact Trace, where people can, with the QR code, look at that story. They see the farmer, they see where the food is coming from, the textile is coming from, and they see the different steps. So it would be really great if you check that out, because we see, yes, technology can help, but it has to really start with the people in mind. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. Brilliant. And I think this leads us nicely into our next speaker, Teresa, who's trying to make that connection between everyone. We all eat food. We all need it to survive. So, Teresa, can you tell us a little bit about how the consciousness agenda intersects with your work and the projects that you're currently developing as part of the Conscious Food Systems Alliance?
I'm so pleased to be here. I'm in Rio now and very glad to be here finally, connecting to all of you and especially to COP27. So my role started, my path started, I was formerly a designer, but I always cooked, so I became a chef and I had a partnership with my sister in a restaurant for more than 40 years. In the beginning of 2000, I joined the slow food movement, and that was a really aha moment for me. Was really struck my mind, because before I was, a chef, and I realized that we had such a responsibility of being a chef, because we are like this lost link between the production and the consumption. So when I came back from an event of slow food in Portugal, I decided I wanted to teach kids about their ancestrality. And I chose a group, me and the group of slow food in Rio. We went into a school, a public school, where all the kids were from the slums in Rio. And it was very intuitive action, and I realized that all of us in Brazil have a staple food very important, which is manioc, cassava. So I realized that I decided to make this workshop of teaching about the origins of cassava, what you could do with cassava, the legend, the indigenous legend, music, and everything. So we started this first action as a very small thing, and that grew a lot, and the school started to ask us to repeat the action. So for more than 10 years, we made this workshop about cassava that taught about geography, history, legend, music, all the culture around cassava. But the most important thing, and at the end we taught the kids to make their own tapioca tortillas, which is like the bread of indigenous people in Brazil. But the most important thing of this workshop was not to teach kids how to cook. Many people do that. It was more about teaching them how to connect, and that's how the connection and the consciousness comes. To connect with their ancestrality. Because those kids from the slums of Rio, their ancestors are from the northeast and the north. part of Brazil. And that part is exactly where manioc started. Manioc was a wild plant that was domesticated by indigenous people. So this crop was responsible for saving most of lives, especially the poor people's lives in Brazil. So those kids, they didn't know that their ancestors were responsible for this life. So we started this workshop, and that had some unexpected effects. For instance, people at home, like the mothers, the very busy mothers, working mothers, thank us. It came to us and said, thank you so much, because my kids now, they want to cook. And so lots of little things that was the effect of connection and consciousness, that cooking was an act not only for consumptions, but also that connect them, not only to social biodiversity or to food, but also to their ancestors. So this was for 10 years. And when I joined the COP27, it was very interesting, because I realized that what I was doing, and me and this group of eco-chefs, because then I founded the Instituto Maniva and the group of eco-chefs, and we did lots of works with the same attention to this connection. When I joined COP27, I thought it was really interesting and really challenging, because that put ourselves into the position of sharing this methodology. First of all, to create a methodology that could be shared with other crops, with other staple foods. So now we are doing this, and the idea is to offer this to other countries, other programs, and together to enhance and to deepen this consciousness of our connection to our land, to our ancestrality, in one hand to our biodiversity, in other hand to our people, the people around us. So in Brazil, we started to do like a network with other programs. Sinal do Vale, which is a non-profit organization, and Kairos, other. So we're starting our little COP27 group here in Brazil to make this connection. And I think it's very important for us to realize that here in this group and in this event, this huge event, we are not comfortable. We are talking about a big crisis. We are talking about a big problem. It's not celebration time. It's emergency time. And why what can we do? That's the big question. And one of the things we can do is to consume differently, to eat food differently, and to connect and to have the consciousness of what we are eating, and as someone said before, where it comes from, who is benefiting, is it healthy to our body, is it healthy to earth, is it polluting the rivers? So this consciousness about eating, and also in my point of view, the consciousness about cooking, is something that really, I believe, can change the crisis that we are on. And one of the practices, and I think one of the important ones, is to start with kids, because they are the future, and they need to understand that eating habits is not only eating those big brands of ultra processed food. And I think this is a small but big revolution that we have to do. Thank you.
You had some applause here in the room, Teresa. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thank you for sharing the work that you're doing, connecting communities to ancestral foods in Brazil, and the importance of especially connecting or helping kids connect better to where their food comes from. And we're seeing, there's so much processed food in our societies these days. So it is really important for our health and for the environment and for the smallholder farmers who are producing this food. We need to support them. So thank you for that. Yes.
Can I add just a little thing?
Please.
The biggest problem today with indigenous people in the Amazon is diabetes, because they eat ultra-processed food. So that's what we are talking about.
Okay, thank you for that. So, Jeroen, can you tell us a little bit about your experience in promoting sustainability and climate transition from within, and how you intend to help support this through the COPSA? Over to you, thanks.
Yes, thank you, Ella. Very happy to be here today with you at COP27. You know, our experience in addressing this human dimension of sustainability, what we've been talking about today, has been very positive. We built on a long tradition of leadership development, behavioral change, mindfulness, compassion, and also indigenous wisdom, and methods that are well established, but often new to the sustainability world, in particular in the West. So after a lot of research, we tailored our existing programs to the needs of this sustainability community and started with a large pilot, including about 100 leaders, people from the EU, so European institutions, but also companies and NGOs. And this was an online program with 6 modules. And it combined inner development, so exploring purpose, cultivating compassion, overcoming mental biases, and it also included outer elements such as behavior change, collaboration, and workplace initiatives. So in addition, people were of course invited to be out in nature and to do daily mindfulness and compassion-based practices. Professor Ramsler, who spoke earlier today, has reviewed our programs, and our findings demonstrated, amongst others, significant increase in climate agency, which is important, so giving people the sense that what they do matters. Also a significant increase in feeling connected to nature, and a clear integration and willingness to bring this type of work into the workplace. So we've been very fortunate that our programs then have been included in the standard European learning catalog, making them available to all EU staff of all European institutions. And we also started increasingly partnering with organizations such as the Inner Development Goals, and we're now running together with them programs for leaders in the Global South, from countries like Costa Rica, Colombia, Zambia, Rwanda, and India, to fantastic. As of course all these challenges and our work is inherently global and universal. And then in addition, we are now preparing trainer programs so that these type of programs offerings can be scaled. Now, to come back to your second part of your question, so what are we planning to bring to support the Conscious Food Systems Alliance? Well, first of all, we feel it's very critical to connect with and collaborate with all stakeholders in the global food system. And we're envisaging to do this via 2 initiatives and scale these initiatives through the global network of UNDP and with a range of partners. So the first initiative is to convene major decision makers of the global food system. And then the second initiative is to train facilitators, field officers, community workers to support with people on the ground. And both initiatives are hugely ambitious and will really require massive support from a range of stakeholders from the global community, but also from donors. And let me say a little bit more about these initiatives. Starting with this global leadership program, as I said, we're looking to convene a broad community of leaders from organizations with really systemic impact on the global food system. So this includes, of course, policymakers, business leaders from food and agricultural companies, farmer representatives, academics, biodiversity experts, and many others. And the purpose of the program would be to bring these people together and overcome and create a kind of an open and more safe environment so that transformation and collaboration is possible and more possible. And then being able to, when you come together, when you look each other in the eye, to overcome old paradigms and self-limiting beliefs, and cultivate transformative qualities such as system thinking, compassion, collaboration. And then finally, collaborate together, start working, creating small initiatives, concrete collaboration based on these in our qualities, which is very different than our habitual way of working. Now, we are looking actively for partners, so partners who want to join a program like this, so from the food and agricultural companies, but also from all the stakeholders I just mentioned, as well as donor organizations who can fund a first pilot, because we can do this small, and that's great, but we can also, if we really want to have impact, if I'm looking at the time, we would like to reach at least 60% of the major systemic organizations over the next 5 years. And that really needs us to come together. And I'm really passionate about also a second initiative, which is to train facilitators and field officers and community workers to support people on the ground. In particular, of course, the 600 million or so smallholder farmers that really feed billions of people and are hugely struggling, as we all know. And ultimately, most of the pressure and the problems of our system falls on them. So I feel that we really need to support them, and I feel the community that is here today with us can help. And to be able to reach and support as many people on the ground as possible in a way that respects and benefits the local context, we will co-create a train-the-trainer program with local partners and then translate this program in various languages and support the facilitators on the ground with materials and the support they need. And the nature, of course, of these programs is to build, restore communities, create safe places, to talk about climate-induced problems, in particular as it impacts their ability to grow crops, to sustain themselves, and even survive. So for all of this to be able to have meaningful impact, we will need to work together, and we feel very grateful to be part of the COP27 community and to connect with highly motivated, skilled, and passionate people above all, as we've been seeing today. So if you hear this and want to know more, I would invite you to reach out directly to the COP27 team. And of course, you're also free to connect directly with us at the In Green Deal. And I'm very curious what will come and where we will be in a few years from now. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And yeah, just to emphasize what I was hearing from that is really the role of collaboration. So, working with grassroots organizations all the way up through SMEs, larger businesses, and all the way up to national policymakers. And as well around the importance of building capacities. So really looking at how we can, like you're saying, these programs, these training programs to help build more meaningful impact. So thank you for that, Jeroen. And last but not least, we have Katie. So thank you, Katie, for joining us. We were wondering if you'd also be able to tell us a little bit of your experience about being part of COP27 and the co-creation process, and how transformative this has been, and how you're currently looking to integrate this agenda into your work as part of COP27. Over to you, Katie. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, good afternoon from Cardiff in Wales, where I live and work. And probably, moving on to the local from Jeroen's global picture, let me tell you a bit more about how COP27 impacting local approaches. So I consider myself a big system practitioner. I certainly am not an expert in consciousness. So my journey with COP27 really has been enlightening and enriching. Before I tell you about that I want to set a little bit of context by telling you a little bit about Wales. So Wales is a small and beautiful country. It has a big heart and its own language, which around, there's an ambition for around 30% of the population to speak. And I want to just to share with you 2 Welsh words, which I associate with my capacities. So the first of these is a word that's Hwrai, which doesn't have a direct translation, but it means nostalgic longing for a place. So that's Hwrai. And another word that doesn't have a direct translation, but the word is Cwtch. And it basically means a cuddle or a hug. But it actually means if you give someone a Cwtch, you're figuratively giving them a safe place. and I feel very much that mindfulness can create that safe place. So back to Wales. So we're part of the UK and we have our own parliament called the Senate. And we have a number of devolved powers from the UK government. These include agriculture, education, the NHS, there are many others. But of most relevance today is a world first really piece of legislation called the Wellbeing and Future Generations Act. This sustainable development legislation places a duty on public bodies to take consideration of future generations in decision making. And in fact, the Commissioner, Sophie Howe, has been present at COP this week. The Act operates across 7 wellbeing goals and lays out 5 ways of working that the public bodies should be adopted to support better decision making. And these 5 ways of working are definitely relevant to COPS's approach. It's about taking account of the long term, collaboration, integration, prevention, and involving people of all ages and diversity. And this leads me on to talk a bit more about how my COPSA journey began. One of the foundations of our work is to help build a resilient food system by building a network of local food partnerships. These partnerships work across the system at a local level, involving partners from all corners of that food system to build a vision and plan for a healthy and sustainable food in their area. There are 22 local authority areas in Wales, and we want to see a partnership in each of these areas. Last year, so going back to early in 2021, I had a meeting where I was discussing with colleagues this ambition of developing this network of food partnerships. And at that meeting I was introduced to the Sustainable Development Change Manager of Welsh Government. After this meeting she introduced me to Thomas, suggesting that I may be a good candidate to contribute to COPSA and the breathing room. And I'm going to admit at this point that I was sceptical. What was this breathing room about? I found it difficult to comprehend, but after speaking to Thomas and deciding whether or not I wanted to commit my time, I actually went with my gut feeling, and I knew I should be taking part. And before I knew it, I was practicing mindfulness online, which was definitely a first for me. And I'm pleased to hear that I do get it, and I do understand. The breathing room process and contributing to the group on developing the manifesto in particular, COPSA, has really helped me to crystallise the importance of consciousness approaches and helped me to realise that the approaches and values that we were already actually taking as a team within our work, especially around building the importance of building relationships back into the food system, we were actually already doing, but just didn't quite realise the importance of that. So fast forwarding 12 months, and Welsh Government has now made funding available to support us in developing that network of food partnerships across Wales. I've taken my learnings from COPSA and brought mindfulness approaches into my own team. We spent 3 afternoons with Vishwapani Bloomfeld, who's Director of Mindfulness and Action in Wales, to build our understanding of the application of mindfulness to our own work and to our own lives. We've introduced some small things which make a big difference, such as Tuesday morning connections, where we meet as a team with no agenda, just to create a space to offload, celebrate something, or to seek mutual support for something we're struggling with. And we're having our monthly team meeting in our local Buddhist centre, where we incorporate some mindfulness practice with a resident practitioner. This approach is bringing us closer together as a team and has increased confidence and trust between staff members. More widely, as a result of my COPSA journey, I'm now working with Welsh Government's Sustainable Development Change Manager around developing a community of practice to support the growing food partnership network in Wales. Part of this offer is training to build inner capacities linked to the Wellbeing and Future Generations Act, where their ways of working and using these techniques with colleagues in Welsh Government to approach area of conflict and to try and seek resolution. In fact, we had our first meeting yesterday, and as partnerships develop across Wales, we will hope that our community of local food system practitioners will expand and develop. And in turn, these practitioners will expand the network with the people that they're working with in their local areas. Those of us working to make the food system better are constantly exposed to the devastation that poverty, climate change and nature loss is causing, and it is really difficult to escape and remain in a positive headspace and to keep that space for trying to push for solutions. And this is just one reason why COPSA is so important, to help practitioners navigate these challenges and remain in a positive problem-solving space. To finish, I am really grateful to the connections I've made through Welsh Government and now to COPSA. I treasure the experience so far, and I hope that I have reciprocated with my own experience as an initially slightly sceptical food systems practitioner to the group in return, and I'm really looking forward to the next steps of the COPSA journey.
Thank you so much, Katie. Thank you. Yeah, it's great to hear how you've been able to involve the Welsh Government and your journey with COPSA and how you're integrating some of these mindfulness approaches into your own team and your own work. So that's really great to hear. Thank you. So before I pass to Andrew for some very brief closing remarks and a short video, I would like to hand back to Vairoa for some reflections from her side.
La cultura Rapa Nui tiene una cosmovisión y la cosmovisión habla del cuidado del ser. Es como una flor, como la flor de la permacultura, pero el inicio de la cosmovisión es el cuidado del ser, desde su alimentación, desde su descanso, desde su meditación. Ahí agradezco la meditación, desde lo que uno piensa, desde lo que uno dice. Se llama el Mo'a. Mo'a es el cuidado del ser, y desde ahí nosotros creamos este programa de los huertos familiares.
So here Maria is explaining a bit the cosmovision from our people, which is about taking care of your inner self. And what's the name again? Moha, called Moha. And starting from taking care of your inner self. And,
y desde ahí se crea el programa que vimos en el video. Yes. Y bueno, nosotros tenemos mucho que aportar a través de esta cosmovisión, a través de este trabajo que estamos desarrollando, porque como decía ahí Tomás en su presentación, es muy importante potenciar desde lo local, desde la alimentación desde lo local, porque al final lo que te da tu territorio es lo que tú necesitas para tu cuerpo. Lo que llega de afuera, donde vienen con un envase, 2, 3, 4, 5 envases, 6 envases para que uno pueda recién alimentarse. ¿Qué hace uno con ese envase?
So also all the external products is what is feeding ourselves. So adding on what she was also saying before, from taking care of your inner self, it's then when you can also take care of the external world and the others.
Y solamente para terminar, la cultura milenaria de nuestros ancestros, imagínense mis ancestros que crearon estos moai de 10 metros, de cientos de toneladas que los movieron por 20 kilómetros. Ellos se alimentaban de tubérculos, de verduras, de peces. Ese era su alimento. Imagínense lo fuerte que ellos eran. Entonces todo lo que nosotros necesitamos está en nuestro territorio. Y es por lo mismo que nosotros creamos y estamos creando políticas locales para ir frenando toda esta oleada de productos y de alimentos que no necesitamos.
So local people were so strong when they were able to build the Moai, and they were feeding with local resources and fish and vegetables from the country. So they have already everything that they need in the country. And they're developing policies to prevent external and processed food from entering the country.
Entonces, agradecer el espacio. Yo soy la encargada de la municipalidad encargada medioambiental de la municipalidad de Rapa Nui, una institución indígena local que estamos trabajando desde la cosmovisión para nuestra comunidad. Muchas veces nos falta apoyo financiero, pero igual hacemos las cosas por el cariño que le tenemos al territorio, a nuestra cultura y a nuestra comunidad. Muchas gracias.
To conclude, she's also working in a local council and to take care of the environment and also spreading love with the care of the environment and local policies. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for sharing that and what you're doing in your community and with your local governments, and yeah, thank you so much. Mil gracias. So I will briefly hand over to Andrew for the closing remarks, which will be followed by a video. So thank you so much. Over to you, Andrew. Thank you so much, Andrew. And to close, I think we have a launch video from COPSA. So I'll pass it to Naomi. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Thank you for your time.